Well, hello everybody. Today I'm going to show you a video that is coming from, I'm not really sure where, but it is showing what's really happening in Bolivia right now. And they say it's a racist coup in Bolivia. And what I saw of the video, I thought they could be right. So in any case, I thought I'd translate it and show you what's going on over there in Bolivia. So here goes. Oh, by the way, my name is Mara Carranza. I'm with AMLO Vision, and I'm working with RBC International due to the invitation of Mr. Ricardo Belmont Casanelli, its founder, and its promoters. Anyway, I'm also, it will be in Spanish, so I'm going to make a little intro for the Spanish-speaking people. Hola, amigos y amigas. Voy a hacer una traducción de un video que viene de un lugar que habla hispana. No estoy segura de dónde, pero quería que viéramos lo que está pasando en realidad en Bolivia. Y lo voy a dejar que salgan los dos lenguajes bastante recio, así es que se puede oír en español o en inglés. Ok, aquí vamos. So they're saying right there, the Bible is returning back to the palace of the government. And they said not the Pachamama, but now Christ is returning here to the palace of the government.
Estas imágenes muestran al líder de las protestas antigubernamentales.
So this is showing the leader of the protest against the government.
El multimillonario Luis Fernando Camacho.
The multimillionaire Luis Fernando Camacho
Entrando al Palacio Presidencial de Bolivia
was entering into the presidential palace of Bolivia
sin que la policía ni los militares pongan resistencia.
and the police nor the military resisted him.
Un palacio presidencial sin Evo Morales.
So there's a presidential palace now without Evo Morales, its president.
Horas antes, Morales fue obligado a renunciar al cargo.
Hours before that, Evo Morales was forced to abandon his position as president.
Pese a su victoria en la primera ronda de elecciones presidenciales,
due to his winning the first round of the electoral ballots.
del 20 de octubre.
This was on the 20th of October.
El mandatario presentó su renuncia.
So the president turned in his what is it when you quit your job? His resignation.
Tras denunciar un golpe de estado en su contra.
Because they had already started a coup against him.
Y por la ola de violentos disturbios instigados por la oposición.
And because of the violent disturbances that were caused by the opposition.
Que le acusaba de fraude
because they were accusing him of fraud
en las elecciones.
In the elections. Now, mind you, at this time, on the 20th, they still hadn't finished getting they still hadn't gotten the full review of the ballots. They only had the preliminary ballots.
Tengo la obligación de buscar esta paz.
And he says, it is my obligation to look for peace.
Duele mucho.
And it is very painful.
Entre bolivianos y bolivianos enfrentados.
Because Bolivian men and women are confronted.
Duele mucho.
And it is very painful.
Que esos señores
that these men and women
algunos comités cívicos y partidos que han perdido,
and these civic people from the ones that have lost,
llevar a la violencia,
now they've gone to violence
llevar a la agresión,
and they've gone to aggression,
enfrentando entre bolivianos y bolivianos.
and they're attacking the Bolivians, male and female.
Y por eso hay muchas razones.
And for this and many other reasons,
Estoy renunciando,
I am renouncing the presidency,
enviando mi carta de renuncia a la Asamblea Legislativa Plurinacional de Bolivia.
and I will send my renouncement letter to the Bolivian court or whatever it is they have to put it into.
Morales dijo que evitar más derramamiento de sangre en Bolivia
And so he said he was trying to prevent more bloodshed in Bolivia. That's why he went ahead and renounced his post.
fue la principal razón de su renuncia.
And he said that was the principal reason why he renounced his post.
Poco después, el mandatario tuvo que abandonar el país con destino a México
And a few hours later, or a little bit later, he had to leave the country.
a bordo de un avión del Comando de la Fuerza Aérea Mexicana.
And he went aboard a airplane of the Mexican Air Force
En un intento por salvar su vida y la de su familia,
in an attempt to save his family and that of, his life and that of his family,
ante la persecución inclemente
due to the inclement persecution,
de grupos de la oposición en contra de funcionarios del
because there were groups of the opposition that were against the functioning officials
gobierno boliviano.
of the Bolivian government.
Pero su partida hacia México no fue tarea fácil.
But his leaving Mexico was not an easy job.
El avión partió de Bolivia pese a los intentos de los militares bolivianos de
And the plane left from Bolivia, even though they were attempting to hold him back from the military.
cerrarle el paso.
And they tried to close the exit.
Ya en el aire, el avión casi se precipita por la falta de combustible.
While they were in the air, it almost went down because they were short on fuel,
Todo por un movimiento coordinado de varios países
due to a coordinated movement of various countries
que le negaron su espacio aéreo
that denied them their airspace
para rehabilitar el combustible.
so that they could refuel.
Finalmente, Morales pisó suelo mexicano.
Finally, Evo Morales stepped on Mexican soil,
El gobierno del presidente López Obrador le concedió asilo político.
and the government of Mexico, López Obrador, granted him asylum in Mexico.
Un miembro del equipo de seguridad
A member of the security group
del ejército
of the military
me informó y me
informed me,
hizo leer
and he caused me to read.
mensajes, me comentó llamadas,
He made me read messages and commented on some calls,
y pidió que le entregara a cambio de $50,000.
and he asked me that I to take those in exchange for $50,000.
La oposición minoritaria en el Parlamento de Bolivia
So the opposition, which was a minority in Bolivia,
proclamó a la vicepresidenta segunda
proclaimed the vice president, the second in line
del Senado,
to the Senate,
Yanine Áñez,
Yanin Áñez,
como presidenta interina del país.
as an interim president of the country.
La autoproclamación de Áñez se
So she self-proclaimed herself, Ms. Áñez,
produjo en una sesión legislativa sin
that she produced in a legislative session
quórum.
without the rest of the people present.
Los parlamentarios del movimiento al socialismo
So the parliamentary people that were there with the socialists,
el partido político de Morales,
the political party of Morales,
no asistieron a la sesión
did not assist to the session
por falta de garantías de seguridad.
due to a lack of a guarantee of security.
Asumo de inmediato la
And she said, I assume immediately
presidencia del Estado
the presidency of the state
prevista en el orden constitucional
that is pre-visualized in the constitutional order,
y me comprometo a
and I commit myself
asumir todas las medidas
to go to all measures
necesarias para pacificar
in order to cause peace
el país.
or to pacify the country.
Morales consideró lo ocurrido como el golpe más artero y nefasto de la historia.
And Evo Morales considered this to be the most worst case of coup that's ever been in history.
Sin importar estos argumentos legales que invalidan la
Even though there were arguments that invalidated
autoproclamación de Áñez,
the self-proclamation of Áñez. And I'm going to read this to you. It says, a senator of the right side that was in the coup self-proclaimed herself president at the Senate, and then the president inside of Bolivia without quorum and legislation around this group of accomplices. And she was supported by the FFAA and the police, and they're repressing the people.
Estados Unidos y sus aliados en la Organización de Estados Americanos
So the United States and their allies in the United States, or the United Nations,
se apresuraron a reconocerla como
they hurried up to recognize her
presidenta interina de Bolivia.
as the interim president of Bolivia.
La violencia y la persecución contra la comunidad indígena no cesaron en Bolivia.
And they did not stop the persecution and attack on the people in Bolivia.
Dígame su nombre, por favor.
Tell me your name, please.
Yo quiero denunciar.
¿Cómo se llama usted?
Yo me llamo Claudia Quispe. Yo vivo
She says, my name is Claudia Quispe, and I want to denounce.
en esta zona de Ovejuyo.
I live in this zone, Yobahuyo.
Quiero denunciar que en este momento
I want to denounce that at this moment,
nuestros hermanos campesinos
our brothers that are working in the fields
del Chapare, de
in Chapare,
Chayapata, Camino a Oruro,
in Chayapata, Camino a Oruro,
La Paz,
by La Paz,
están siendo vilmente matados
they're being killed cruelly
por los militares de Bolivia.
by the military of Bolivia.
Desde México, Morales denunció el golpe de Estado
And from Mexico, Morales denounced the coup,
e instó a la derecha boliviana a cesar la masacre.
and he asked them to stop the massacring.
Quienes dijeron, si se va,
But they told me that if I left,
Evo y Álvaro, hemos renunciado, dejamos nuestra renuncia.
and then we've left and we've given we've given up our posts
A la Asamblea Legislativa Plurinacional,
to the legislative plurinational.
pues ahora pare.
So please stop.
¿Por qué siguen?
Why do you continue?
¿Por qué siguen con violencia?
Why are you still continuing with the violence?
El líder indígena también lamentó haber confiado en la OEA como órgano
And also this leader was lamenting that he had confidence in the OEA, which is the Organization of the United States that was supposed to make sure that it, kind of like a overseer of the ballots.
para la auditoría de las elecciones.
They were there to audit the election ballots.
Ahora me doy cuenta, saludo las recomendaciones
So now I understand, according to the recommendations
de algunas hermanas y hermanos izquierdistas,
from my brothers that are on the left,
que la OEA
that the OEA
no está al servicio del pueblo latinoamericano.
is not at the service of the Latin American people. So they're saying this is the reality here.
Miren, los compañeros, seguimos luchando.
And you see us, we're still fighting.
Difundan en los grupos.
Please let them know in your groups.
Difundan. Manden a la prensa.
El golpe de
Please send it to the press.
Estado ha provocado masivas protestas en distintas ciudades de Bolivia
So the coup had attacked, had caused many protests in Bolivia
contra la autoproclamada presidenta interina
against the interim self-proclaimed president.
y en apoyo a Evo Morales.
And they were showing their support for Evo Morales.
Los manifestantes instan al retorno del dirigente socialista.
And these manifestors demand the return of this president that's socialist.
Nosotros estamos aquí movilizados
We are here mobilized
para hacer respetar nuestra constitución política
because we want our political constitution respected.
del Estado, que profundamente rechazamos
And we profoundly, when they don't want, they disavow
este golpe de Estado,
this attack on the state or this coup.
el quien se ha autonombrado para ser presidenta.
And this one who has proclaimed herself as president.
Y nosotros como organizaciones sociales
And we, as social organizations,
siempre hemos sido respetuosos,
we have always been respectful,
humildes,
humble
a la cabeza de nuestro hermano presidente.
to the head of our brother, the president. To the whole world, she says.
Quiero decir, la prensa,
I want to say to the international press.
ya le están mostrando que el país está tranquilo.
In the news, they're showing that our country is tranquil,
Está normal, ya no
that everything is normal,
pasa nada, todo
that nothing is happening,
se está armando bonito. No,
that everything is going well and pretty.
no es así.
No, it is not that way.
Aquí todos no estamos bien, todas
Today, here, we are not well.
las provincias, las
All the provinces,
únicas que nos están ayudando son
the only ones that are helping us are
las radios.
the radios.
Las radios, las únicas.
The radios are the only ones that are helping us.
Y de paso, la señorita Yanine Áñez dice,
And the lady, Janine Yanes, who is Áñez, who is the self-proclaimed president,
vamos a hacer algo contra las radios rurales porque no
and she said, we're going to do something against the rural radios
están informando bien.
because they're not informing correctly.
Según la ley electoral boliviana, el
According to the Bolivian electoral law,
ganador de las elecciones presidenciales debe
the winner of the presidential elections must
sumar el 50% de los votos
win with more than 50% of the votes,
u obtener al menos el 40% de los votos
or obtain at the very least 40% of the votes,
con una ventaja del 10%
but he has to have an advantage of at least 10%
o más sobre
Or
el
more.
segundo candidato
over the next candidate
más votado.
that has the most votes besides him.
Los detractores del presidente dimisionario
So the detractors of the president
denuncian una demora en el conteo de los votos
said that there was a delay in the counting of the votes,
como un indicio de fraude electoral.
like a electoral fraud.
Pero Morales afirma que la demora se debió a
But Morales attests that the delay had something to do with
la recepción de los votos en las zonas rurales,
the delay of getting the votes from the rural zones,
donde él contaba con una ventaja considerable
where he counted on a considerable advantage
frente a sus rivales.
Against his rivals.
Después de escuchar los primeros informes,
And then after we got the information,
más conocidos como boca de urna,
at the mouth of the urn,
estuvimos con una diferencia de 7%.
they said that there was a difference of 7%.
Yo solo dije, esperemos el voto de las áreas rurales.
And all I said was, please, let's wait for the votes from the rural areas.
Usted sabe muy bien, nuestro movimiento político, el MAS y PCP, nace del movimiento campesino indígena originaria.
And they said that most of his votes come from the field laborers and the ones that are out in the outward areas
Desde 1995,
since 1925.
Según las cifras oficiales, Morales fue el ganador de la primera ronda de los
And according to the original ciphers, Morales was the winner.
comicios al obtener el 47.08%
He had 47.08%
de los votos
of the votes.
frente al 36.51% de su contrincante,
And the nearest candidate had 36.5%.
el expresidente Carlos Mesa.
And that was the ex-president Carlos Mesa. Oh my God, they're kicking
Las
someone.
protestas postelectorales en Bolivia estuvieron marcadas por hechos de violencia de
The elections were marked by violence
carácter racista,
in a racist character.
antiindígena y neofascistas.
They were against the indigenous and neo-fascists.
Días antes de la renuncia del presidente,
Days before the renouncement of the president,
la vejación de una alcaldesa del partido de Morales en Vinto, Cocha,
they took this lady who was a mayor in the party of Morales,
Bamba, conmovió a muchos en todo el mundo.
and it moved many in the world
La alcaldesa Patricia Arce fue arrastrada por
because this candidate, this alcalde, I believe it's the mayor, was dragged through the city streets,
la calle, obligada a caminar descalza.
and she was forced to walk barefoot.
La montaron sobre una tarima para cortarle el cabello y
And they put her on top of something so they could cut her hair off.
echarle pintura roja.
And then they threw red paint on her.
Los agresores la insultaron
The aggressors insulted her,
y la obligaron a decir que dejaría el cargo.
and they forced her to say that she would leave her post. And they're saying, you must renounce, you must renounce. And she says, the press, is it going to be showing this?
También incendiaron la alcaldía.
And they also burned down the place where the mayor's office was.
Bolivia logró salir adelante y
But Bolivia came out ahead,
alcanzar favorables índices económicos como
and they had gotten very favorable growth indexes,
Morales. Pero un golpe de Estado con
as well as cultural. But then an attack on the state, a coup,
fines de segregación racial,
was because of racial segregation,
pone en peligro más de una década de avance social.
puts at risk a whole decade of advancement.
De acuerdo con la antropóloga Francisca Fernández,
According to the anthropologist Francisca Fernandez,
este fue un golpe realizado por la ultraderecha
this was a coup that was organized by the ultra-right
que reactivó el viejo conflicto entre las zonas
that reactivated the old conflict between the high areas
altas, el altiplano y el mundo indígena,
and the low plain and the indigenous and the rest of the world
versus la zona baja en el sector oriental
versus the low zone in the sector of the Orient
del país, caracterizada por cierto fanatismo
that was characterized by certain Christian fanaticism
cristiano y un marcado racismo
and marked racism
hacia los sectores
against the indigenous sectors.
indígenas. Varios países latinoamericanos
Various Latin American countries
como Argentina, México,
like Argentina and Mexico,
Cuba, Nicaragua
Cuba and Nicaragua
y Venezuela
and Venezuela
condenaron el golpe de Estado
condemned the coup, an attack on the state
contra el gobierno de Morales.
against the government of Morales.
El presidente venezolano Nicolás Maduro
The Venezuelan president Maduro,
aseguró que Estados Unidos estuvo detrás del plan golpista.
and they assured that the United States was behind this coup.
esta emboscada que se montó contra Evo Morales se montó desde el imperialismo norteamericano.
So they're saying that this, what do you call emboscada? Emboscada is when you have someone sabotage or get you, kind of like sabotage, like when they catch you by surprise. They said it was done by the United States, the North Americans.
Y hoy sacan la cara a aplaudir.
And now they take out their face to applaud.
Y a decir que ahora vienen por Venezuela y Nicaragua.
And now they're saying they're coming for Venezuela and Nicaragua.
Un informe del portal Behind Backdoors
So there is an information that is set out behind back doors.
apoya la afirmación de Maduro.
Supports the affirmation of Maduro.
Hace más de un mes, el portal reveló un plan secreto internacional para
About a month ago, they had revealed an international plan
derrocar a Morales,
to take Morales down.
proporcionando nombres y datos de las
And they gave the names and dates
personas y los gobiernos directamente
of the names and the governments directly
involucrados en el golpe.
that were involved in the attack. Okay, so I'm going to read it. It says, from the territory of the United States, a coup d'etat against the Bolivian President Evo Morales develops gradually. It is intended to be carried out at the end of 2019, presumably after the elections of March 2020. The main operatives are the Bolivian politicians Gonzalo Sanchez de Lozada, Manfred Reyes Villa, Mario Cosio, and Carlos Sanchez Berzayan, all residents of the USA. They coordinate the actions in Bolivia with the leaders of the opposing association, Coordinadora Nacional Militar, composed of former army officers of the Bolivian Army, among them General Humberto Siles, Colonels Julius Maldonado, Oscar Pacello, and Carlos Calderon. Now, I had already heard about this before, and I just couldn't find it. But I had already heard about this behind back doors from someone called Jalife, who is a geopoliticist who is world renowned. He's taught at Yale, Harvard, many of those great institutions, educational institutions. And he had warned about this, and he even told us where to go look at this behind back doors. It's like a government place where they they have all these weird secret things. But anyway, let's go on and hear the rest.
En detalle, el reporte cita explícitamente a políticos bolivianos como Gonzalo Sánchez de Lozada y Manfred Reyes, a militares como el general Humberto Siles y Carlos Calderón. También citaba a los senadores republicanos Ted Cruz y Marco Rubio.
So they're telling you exactly the stuff I just told you a minute ago. Okay, so now I didn't see the bottom part here. It says, besides, they coordinate with high leaders of the Bolivian opposition, mostly Waldo Albarracin, president of the National Democratic Federacy, CONADE by its acronym in Spanish, Jaime Antonio Alarcón Daza, president of the Civic Committee of La Paz, Jorge Quiroga, former president of Bolivia, Juan Carlos Rivero, Rolando Villena, former ombudsman, and Samuel Doria Medina from the National Unity Party. All of them are held responsible for supplying the funds that are being shipped from the United States for this operation, as well as guaranteeing the expected actions to create a state of social crisis and convulse the country before October 20th, the electoral date. Wow. You guys, this was already written and had already been pointed out to us about a month ago, but everybody thought it was like an exaggeration.
Y al demócrata Bob Menéndez como cerebros de la operación.
Estos tres senadores,
These three senators,
que es una acción bipartidista,
they had done a bipartisan action from the Democratic Party,
del Partido Demócrata y el Partido Republicano,
from the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. They got together and agreed
se han puesto de acuerdo para prever y tener un cuidado en que Bolivia no caiga
so they were supposed to be making sure that Bolivia does not fall
en lo que está pasando en Venezuela y Nicaragua.
because they did not want what was happening in Venezuela and Nicaragua to happen there.
Otro informe del sitio de Grayson vincula a Luis Fernando Camacho con planes para asesinar a Morales.
And there was also another plan for Camacho to assassinate Morales.
Y destaca que fue preparado por la Unión Juvenil Cruceñista,
And that was prepared by the Juvenile Cruz.
UJC,
So there it is. Luis Fernando Camacho was prepared by the Union of Juvenile Crucista, an organization of paramilitary fascists that has been put together in plans to assassinate Morales. The group is famous for attacking leftists, the field workers of the indigent, newspaper people, and adopting an ideology that is racist and homophobic.
una organización paramilitar fascista que ha sido vinculada con planes de asesinato a Morales. El grupo es famoso por atacar a izquierdistas, campesinos indígenas y periodistas, adoptando una ideología racista y homofóbica.
Las balas queremos, las balas. Por la patria y por el pueblo boliviano, sí, juro.
So for our country and for the people of Bolivia, I do swear.
Evo Morales, que asumió la presidencia de Bolivia en 2006,
Evo Morales assumed the presidency of Bolivia in 2006.
se postuló a las elecciones después de que el Tribunal Supremo Electoral dictaminó que el límite de 2 periodos para el mandato presidencial
And he went again for the position after the Electoral College said that 2 terms for a president
constituía una violación a los derechos humanos del gobernante
would constitute it would be against the human rights of the president.
y autorizó a él y a su vicepresidente
And they authorized him and his vice president
Álvaro García Linera a volverse a postular como candidatos.
they allowed them to become candidates again.
Habilitando a esas personas a postularse. Quien definitivamente elige es el pueblo boliviano.
So they're saying that so there was a change in the Constitution after Evo became president. Before that, they didn't have a number of terms that you could stay in office, but after he had been in office, they decided to make it a 2-time limit. But then I guess their Supreme Court or something said that it was unconstitutional to do that after he had already served or while he was in office. And so they gave him the right to run again.
Los que implica justamente lo que dispone la Constitución Política del Estado.
Because it implies exactly what is written in the Constitution.
Implica también al presidente y vicepresidente de Estados Unidos.
And that includes the president and the vice president.
En sus años en el poder,
So in his years in power,
Evo Morales adoptó importantes medidas
he adopted important measures
para nacionalizar los recursos naturales
to nationalize the natural resources,
como el gas.
like gas.
Y la propiedad de los hidrocarburos del gas natural.
So he said the property of the hydrocarbons of natural gas
Que pasan a partir de este momento a manos del Estado boliviano.
are going to go back from this day forward to the people of Bolivia.
bajo el control del pueblo boliviano,
And they're going to be under the control of the Bolivian people.
es la solución a los problemas económicos,
And this will be the solution to our economical problems
a los problemas sociales de nuestro país.
and the social problems of our country.
Además, la Bolivia de Morales se
And besides that, the Bolivia of Morales,
convirtió en un miembro clave del eje bolivariano,
it became a critical part, or it was like a crux for the Bolivian people
liderado por el expresidente venezolano Hugo Chávez,
that was condemned by Hugo Chávez, the ex-president,
que fundó organizaciones regionales como el ALBA y la CELAT,
who formed some organizations like ALBA and SALAD,
de las que formaba parte Bolivia.
which Bolivia had formed parts of.
Morales también estableció relaciones estratégicas con Rusia y China.
And he also established strategic relationships with Russia and China.
Los rivales Estados Unidos.
And the rivals were the United States.
Y estableció vínculos con Irán.
And he also had some treaties with Iran,
al que defendió ante la ONU frente a las sanciones de Estados Unidos.
which he defended against the sanctions of the United States.
Ahora que Irán ha retomado el control de sus recursos,
Because now that Iran has taken the control of its own resources,
es nuevamente víctima del asedio estadounidense.
now they are the victims of the United States.
Bolivia rechaza categóricamente
Bolivia refuses categorically
las acciones unilaterales impuestas
these unilateral actions taken
por el gobierno de Estados Unidos
by the United States government
en contra de Irán.
against Iran.
En los 13 años de Morales, el
In the 13 years of Morales, okay, you guys, that whole thing with Iran is probably the reason why the U.S. is attacking them.
Producto Interno Bruto de Bolivia
The internal product, it's like the gross national product,
pasó de 9.000 millones
came to be over 9,000 million
a 40.000 millones,
to 40 million,
mientras que la pobreza extrema pasó del 38%
while the extreme poverty went from 38%
al 15%,
down to 15%,
según CEPAL.
according to what their organizations that count.
En este periodo, el país creció con una tasa promedio del 4.9%
And during this period, the country grew at 4.9% annually.
al año. El
Yearly.
Fondo Monetario Internacional
The National Monetary Fund
proyecta en un 2% para el cierre de este año el crecimiento en
and they had projected 2% by the end of this year in Bolivia.
Bolivia. Evo Morales afirma que lo que hizo que su gobierno fuera derrocado por los propietarios del
So Evo Morales affirms that what caused the coup in Bolivia
poder económico
and from the economic powers
fueron sus planes para capacitar a la población indígena
were his plans to help capacitate the indigenous people
y sectores históricamente marginados del
and sectors of Bolivia that were historically margined off.
país.
Cuando le he tenido a mi hijita no he pagado nada en el hospital.
And when I had my baby, I didn't have to pay anything in the hospital.
Me han cubrido dentro de SUME y el bono también me ha ayudado mucho.
And they covered everything, and they've helped me a lot with the financial,
Para sus pañales, sus leches.
so that I can buy the milks and the diapers. Wow. Wow, you guys. This was wow. I know that the U.S. had a hand in it, And I had seen these things that were in that back door. You know, I had seen it, but I didn't get a chance to read it because it went too fast. But I had heard about it. They said, yeah, there was a coup already planned by the U.S. And they had already named everybody that was going to be involved, and that it was going to happen to Morales before the election day. So this is only a surprise to the Americans that don't get the news that actually is the truth, because most of it that we're fed are lies. In fact, I don't even know if this will go out, but I'm going to try, because I think we need to know what's happening, because it might come down on us, because now the world's going to be angry at us because everybody else knows what's happening except for us. We need to help them. We need to help those people. They're shooting them down everywhere right now. I've been looking at some of the videos. It is absolutely unbelievable what's happening. They're shooting it's really ugly in Bolivia right now. And you say, what do I care about Bolivia? I'm here in the US. The problem is that they're human beings, and that the US had a hand in causing what's happening to them. And we have to have a hand in helping it stop. Please, don't ignore this. We've got to do whatever is necessary to help them. Thank you. Bye.